Got a funny story to tell you.
Tell me this funny story.
So I'm at lunch with my kids and my mum,
Nice.
and I'm explaining that we've got to record tonight. And
Sure.
and my youngest one, she's about 12. She's like, "Oh, I want to get some of my classmates to listen to your podcast." And I'm like, "Sweetie, it's not a podcast meant for kids. You can't do that." So what do you mean? And my mum chimes in. She goes, "Yeah, they've got an X-rated podcast."
X-ray.
X-ray. I turn and look at my mum. I'm like, "Mum, we're all we do is swear. We don't fuck each other."
Often. It's only like on the special occasion.
I was just like,
Right.
X-rated, mate. X-rated. That's where it's at. X-rated podcast.
Well, that's why Patreon didn't want to pay us at one point. They were like, "You're making X-rated content."
G'day. This is the Two Beards Wrexham podcast, your go-to for all things Wrexham AFC. Join us as we chat about the highs and lows of our favourite footy club. She'll be right, mate. G'day, beard brethren, Sheilas, fuckheads, and just all round bloody legends. Mate, we are here for another week. We've got a big one. We're a bit
Huge.
loopy because we haven't watched Wrexham this week because they don't have any games. Well, we've got one game we can probably talk about, but we've got a really good episode coming up, one that I've been looking forward to all week. And I'm just going to jump straight into it right after this. But I'm your host, Rousey. That there is Hodgie, or also Adrian, but I'm going to call him Hodgie.
Yeah.
And we are the Two Beards Wrexham podcast, the Australian podcast all about Wrexham, brought to you down under. Mate, are you ready for this?
Yeah, mate. I think there's the good thing is there's no surprise for them because it'll be in the title of the video, I reckon, and the episode. So they know what's coming. They know who's coming. And wow, I'm just saying coming a lot. So I'm just gonna move back to you. It's gonna be fun.
Well, okay, we'll make it nice and stupid quick. We've got some housekeeping. And by
Yes.
housekeeping, I mean we're going to put on our little fluffy maid's uniforms and do some cleaning. No, 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 that's what we say for after hours. We have a fuckheads program. Right, wonder why we call them our fuckheads, and it is our fans only program in Australia. If you like someone, you pay them out. Basically, you pull the piss
I
out
love
of
that.
them, you make fun of them. Um,
The sign of a healthy relationship is
Fun of
is making fun of each other. So
that's right. So these are all our dear mates, and we call them our fuckheads. It'll cost you $5 a month to be a part of this one. It gets you access to a fans only Discord, gets you discounted off our merch in our merch store, gets you shout outs on the pod every single week, access to giveaways that we do every so often in the Discord, and early ad-free access to the podcast every single week. You get it a full day early.
nah, he's nailed it.
What do
He's
you do?
fucking nailed it, mate. I think the best part about it is that, as you've heard to death, this is to get us to Wrexham. The funds of this is solely to get our tickets and our butts to there and back again. I mean, that's ideal. If we can't, then we'll obviously have to just stay there forever. But like that's
Or
the goal.
it's for bribing cops.
Bribing. Jeez. I feel like we're going to have to with you there, mate. But the good news is we've got some people who might be wanting to come along with us next November 2025. We've got our ultra fuckheads, our producers of the executive producers of this show. We have to thank that is the $20 tier. You can become an executive producer by giving a little more. You get a little bit extra. So you get that executive producer credit, a rolling piece of merch every 6 months. Yeah, really cool that people are doing it. Sarah and Anthony, you have become eligible as of last week. Sarah, DM us. We just want to know what you need, and then we'll shoot out both of your rolling pieces of merch. I know Anthony, I think, wants a stubby, I think, right? Yeah. He wants a glass with the two beards on it. Welsh Techie, thank you so much. Bryant and David, your time will come shortly, I'm sure, for that 6-month rolling. It's going real quick, so I'm excited to see what you guys pick. The rest of the gang, honestly, it's just great to have everyone in there when we have even a week off. It's just great to see the banter in there, whether it's talking about the EFL fantasy or whether it's talking about, fucking weird Instagram videos in Rousey's dungeon. But we've got Andy, Aaron, Will, Chris W, John, Anthony R, Deandra, Mark, Drew, Neb, Ryan, Jake, Vincent, and Benjamin. We want to thank you all for being part of this amazing little group of people. And I know some of you are excited. They're like, announce the dates of when you guys are going. We just don't. It's just, you can't even book tickets for that far ahead yet. So we can't give you the exact dates as of yet. But when we do know, the first people to know will be the fuckheads. So
when everything's finalized,
it
is going to be November 2025. We will most likely be flying over about November the 5th, 2025. So that week, we'll be touching base with Vault 33 and Robbo over there, and we will be getting our live show sorted out with the help of our dear friends from the Eat More Chips podcast. They're going to be helping to look after sound and video and possibly or lighting. We'll soon see. We're going to make a decent time of it. So that's what's happening there.
I can definitely tell you it's going to be after that, because November 5th is my wife's birthday. So to not be in the doghouse, I definitely will not be leaving until after that date.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. I did not know, but hey, let's bring our guests on. Let's do this. This is going to be something else. I tell you what,
I'm keen.
is going to be a crossover episode. We're going to have lots of stuff to pick their brains about. They're brave enough to come on our show, and
bless them.
Without further ado, let's fucking welcome the old Rob Ryan Red boys. Let's do it after this. Welcome back, listeners. Here we are, two Beards Wrexham podcast and one half of Rob Ryan Red. We lost the other one. We misplaced him somewhere. Don't know where he's got to, but I'm sure we'll dig him out of his dungeon a bit later on anyway. But we have Nathan Salt from Rob Ryan Red. Which one are you? Are you Red or Rob or Ryan?
Well, basically, I'm the only one with an adequate beard to come on this podcast. So Rich does not have the facial hair to, if anyone can see. I mean, I'm not quite you guys, but I'm probably the closest thing. So Rich Rich felt inferior with this facial hair, so he had to give this one a miss, gents. But thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, mate, we're looking forward. Been looking forward to this one all week, and the thing is just about time that we got you guys on and showed some love. And give the old butt cheeks a bit of a slap, which is great times, great fun. But you guys are one of the quintessential OGs of Wrexham podcasts, and I must admit, you guys got listening to you guys rather early on, and introduced us to wealth of knowledge, your access with the club and the players, and obviously. I loved your interviews that you did with the owners as well, when you got to do that, and your vlogs from going over to Vancouver.
Yeah.
So you're doing it all. Must be a busy life.
Need to get a life. I think that's one of the verdicts. That's probably my mum and dad's verdict. I look at it as like, I'm investing in the club and the fan base, but yeah, parents, they don't seem to agree. They think I just need to get outside more, maybe just have a drink or two and relax. But I'm enjoying it. Yeah, it's the vlogs and everything. Vancouver was amazing, and I just kind of like bringing people a little bit closer, because I appreciate that, I get to go to these far-flung away days, and actually there are people listening and watching from even far-flunger places. So this is a great time to follow Wrexham, a golden age, if you will. Before the call, we were talking about the not so golden, maybe the bronze age. But this is a time where everybody wants to feel as close as they can to it. So if I can do that a tiny little bit, then work well done for me.
Well done, mate. Look, I think the best part about what you guys do is just how much information you can give to such a, I would say we're a very eclectic fan base nowadays because, we've got everyone from everywhere, people who didn't even follow sport before, like a sports team, and they've just fell in love with the Wrexham story, the town, everything that's happening. What was it like when you went over to Vancouver? Because I can imagine you'd be a bit of a celebrity when you went over. Was that the case?
And so I can't call myself a celebrity. You'd need to boot me off the Zoom call if I ever say anything like that.
Sure.
No, it was nice. It was nice to, and I always say to Rich, the funny thing is obviously people have listened to us for a year or for months or whoever. So any little thing we say on the podcast about maybe we've been away or maybe we did this or we did that, and we forget we obviously said that. And then people will come up to you that you've never met before, and they'll say, "Hey, how was Wimbledon? Or how was your holiday to Greece?" And you'd be thinking, "Oh yeah, of course they know a lot about us, and we've never met them." So no, it's great. So being in the pub before the game in Vancouver was just amazing. Just people from all over the world, people that come in Canada as well, but still travel 9-10 hours to get there. To Vancouver, people from the States, Europe, the core that come from Wrexham, just really feel good vibes, and kind of, like you say, such an eclectic group of people that some of which had never followed any sports team before, some of which had followed NFL or CFL or whatever the case may be, hockey, baseball, and, all brought together for Wrexham in pre-season and spent thousands and thousands of pounds, dollars to be there. So completely unfathomable as much as 5 years ago, I would say.
I think it's someone from our end that we see all this unfolding and to be a follower in Australia, you have to really be into it because there's some crazy times you've got to wake up to just to follow your team.
Kickoff times are just so good now that the daylight savings is kicked in over here. For Mr. Perth over there, they don't have daylight savings, so that we have it over here, and it's just made it even worse. I think game kickoff now is 1:30 every week, so it's like it's not a bad start, but it's about halftime. You're just getting the sleepies.
But I will say this: when I witnessed what Wrexham put out in that preseason, it started to make me believe that they were going to do something this season. And definitely do want to pick your brain about Wrexham. And I'm going to start with this one. Where do you think this is going this year? Because me and Adrian are settled that they're going to get that second place spot.
I said on the podcast maybe a month ago that I think, Birmingham will win the league. I think I've long made peace with that. I think everyone's kind of made peace with that, and that's okay. But I really don't think there's anyone that's really definitive for that second spot. There isn't another Birmingham that we're kind of ruling out. So why not? Wrexham are definitely in the building. Will have the belief that is there for them. I think people suspected Huddersfield would have that. They've really taken a slide. Rotherham are not really piecing it together like we thought. I think myself and Rich both had Rotherham as our second place team, and a lot of the bookmakers had them similar. Stockport will have the belief they've got Louis Barry, who they believe is the best player in the division. Wrexham have a lot of potential, and I think what Wrexham have is that they have the ability in January, if they're there or thereabouts, to go and maybe make a splash if they want. They could go and get that star player that maybe is worth rolling the dice for if you know that he can get you over the line in a close battle for promotion. So look, I think top six is a lot more realistic now than maybe I thought before the start of the season. I thought maybe 7th, 8th, flirting with the playoffs, which, when you look at it, would have been a brilliant go coming up, because eventually you are going to plateau. The levels are getting increasingly hard, and we saw with Birmingham what kind of a middling championship team would look like, and we saw the kind of the gap that we have to that. But that's that's an issue for hopefully next season when we're in the Championship. And right now we're looking at League One, and you have to say I don't think there's been many sort of slaps in the face like the Birmingham one, right? Like there's been games where, okay, Stevenage, we didn't play well, but that was more a reflection on us, I think, and we performed poorly and below par. Leyton Orient, I think that'll age and that'll mature into quite a good point there. They're a good team. It's a hard place to go. We found that out in the National League when we went there many years ago. It's a difficult place to go, Brisbane Road. So, every game that isn't a win is not necessarily a disaster. But teams are going to keep taking points off each other. I saw Peterborough yesterday, Rotherham 3-1 up, thinking they're going to get a win. Peterborough ended up coming back 3-3. We won at Peterborough, really impressive. So it's a long-winded way to say, could we get second? Definitely. I still think we'll probably be around that kind of 4th, 5th, and then we'll have that lottery of the playoffs. And who knows, then maybe a trip to Wembley to tie it up.
I think the stress of that just like even now gives me reflux because like I like the stress of even like every season. I mean, for us, it's been obviously we are part of the newer contingent, but at the same time, I feel like we are getting into that kind of, oh my God, this is my life. Like it ruins my weekend if we lose, if it makes my weekend if we win, things like that. But so for obviously for the fans who are like us, who are part of the newer contingent, what advice would you give for, let's just say we did make the playoffs and we did go down that Wembley way and played there. What would be your advice to the fan base? Because a lot of us have been very, 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 very lucky to experience some good times. You have experienced some of the lesser fun times. Try and pitch it to a new fan that it isn't the end of the world. Because I'm trying to explain that to a lot of people when we do drop points.
If you end up in the playoff final, I think obviously if you can win the league, that is the best way to go up. But I think from a drama point of view, from a kind of experience point of view, winning the playoff final at Wembley is incredible. If you can do it, I've never experienced that. I mean, we got to the playoff final against Newport and we lost, and grown men crying on Wembley Way. That was, I think if you asked a lot of Wrexham fans, they would say that's probably one of the lowest moments because you felt like you were so close to getting there. And I actually saw a post on X that said if you could change one result in your club's history, what would it be? And I saw some Wrexham fans were saying I would change that Newport result. But I'm a big believer that, everything happens for a reason. And if we'd have gone up into the Football League then, would years later we've been bought by Robin? You never know what would have transpired. So as rubbish as that was, playoffs are very stressful. I would say get your strongest tonic, get your strongest drink of choice, whatever your vice is. It is very stressful because the stakes are incredibly high. And I think we saw there you go, Wrexham Lager. We saw in that 5-4 game against Grimsby, we were second best to Stockport all season. And then it comes to the playoffs and you have one freaky game and it's lights out and the season's over and that's it. And you go back and obviously we go and win the league the year later. But I remember that sobering feeling after that Grimsby game thinking that's it. The season's over. We lost to Dagenham on the last day of the season. We lost to Bromley at Wembley in the FA Trophy final, and then we lost to Grimsby, and kind of this amazing season that had so many highs just kind of dipped. But I really would say my message to people who think it's a disaster if we drop any points. Obviously, I'd love to win every game, and I just don't think that's realistic when there are so many good teams at the level. And if Wrexham can finish in the top 6. Nobody's going to want to come to the racecourse. I think the racecourse could be the best, home record in the division, second best maybe behind Birmingham, but it's going to be right up there. So, in a playoff, you just want to have a home game where you can really lay down a mark, and then at Wembley, it's neutral territory, and who knows? I think we owe Wembley one after losing against Bromley last visit. So, playoffs stressful, but fear not. It can be the most, if you win, the most magical way to do it.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you have that. I mean, I'm thinking very much the same, and I'm Oh, I tell you what, it would be so good to be the first team in history to go back to back to back. I do worry though, and this is where my somewhat logical brain tries to start thinking about shit. Is if we do go up back to back to back, what's the chances we're going to come straight back down after one season because we wouldn't be as prepared? I do start to worry because the championship is so fucking hard. Um, and the levels are just it's not just one step up from level one to the championship. It's fucking like 10 because you're
Yeah.
versing teams that were in the Premier League that have just come down or they're relying on that monster parachute payment that you get um to get relegated from the Premier League to come down. The clubs in there are massive. Um it's mind-boggling how much different the championship is compared to League One. So my worry would be if we do go up, how well are we going to do?
You've got us stressing about a relegation in a league above where we currently are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's October. It's October. What are we're worrying about? No, look, we are jumping ahead, aren't we? Here,
Yeah.
I think Portsmouth. Portsmouth were class apart in League One last season, and you've seen how difficult it's been for them. Go into some of these huge. Burnley are well funded through parachute payments, and Leeds are just a massive club that have sold players for 20, 30 million. I think Ange was swooping up Archie Gray for 35, 40 million or whatever it was. So they've got money burning a hole in their pockets. It is tough, but you look at like Cardiff have been terrible this year, and it's just eventually you're going to have that mindset switch whereby finishing the one place above the relegation zone in the championship would be in the next couple of years would be amazing. An amazing step forward. You're one step away from the Premier League. But right now, I think you've got to look at it. Wrexham are building things out. Maybe things are going better than we thought in terms of Barney. And Rich had that scoop this week about the secret clause no one knew about, that Barney's contract was extended. So that's a nice piece. Arthur, we're pretty happy with for the next 5 years or whatever that may be. Max, we're really happy with if we can keep him. So there are nice pieces of the puzzle. It just takes a little bit of time to build out because you'll kind of still have the remnants of that squad that got you through League Two and got you through the National League, that ultimately their skill set won't be as useful in a league where technique and technical ability is going to come to the fore more. So certain players who are maybe roughing it a little bit, Elliot Lee, who's technically gifted but was maybe having to rough it a bit more in the National League, can come into his own now. Tom O'Connor, but there might be an Ollie Palmer say this might be his last year with Wrexham. This might be the final. If Wrexham were to go up, I don't think Ollie Palmer is a championship footballer. I don't think that's the hottest take, and don't think that's a Grim Reaper chili type take. But I think it's about squad building, squad evolution, and that takes time. That takes multiple transfer windows, and so Wrexham have just got to show this season that momentum can carry them into the playoffs. And then in the playoffs, you never know. Look at Grimsby; they were bottom of the playoffs and knocked us off at the first chance of asking. So you never know. Momentum's a very powerful thing.
Or second spot. Or
second spot. There you go. Second spot be easy. We can all go into our summer holidays then and relax and put our feet up, and that would be ideal. But let's just see. We're entering that period now where I always think between like the 20th of October to sort of the 20th of January, that kind of period where it's just a grind. You have Tuesday nights, far-flung trips. It's cold, the pitches are shit, like everything's just going against you. And I know that goes against two sides on that same field, I get that. But it is a grind, and that's where I think Birmingham, that's where they'll really test their credentials out, because I always say it's easy to get pumped up to play Wrexham at home on the TV in front of a load of celebrities. It's another thing having to go to a Stevenage or go to a Cambridge or Shrewsbury or wherever when it's pissing down rain and it's cold and maybe the referee's not giving you anything, and they're the games where you just need to grind them out. And that's what I'm intrigued to see away from home, how we do, because I think so far we've been a little bit hit and miss on the road again, haven't we?
Yeah. It's such a hard one because, to keep our feet back on the ground is our away form. If you go off of that, we are a bit off the mark even just last season. So the hardest part was that grind that you mentioned, which was, we were dropping points left, right, and center away from home. I remember that Accrington game, that one specifically. I remember me and Rousey Woolley like butchered it by saying we were going to smash them and we were going to walk them. It's no problem. And then we'll bring back the away form. It'll be fine. And it didn't happen. Newport away. These are things that I think about now and I'm like, okay, you are right. Because even in this scenario, cold game away for, I don't know, I'm trying to think of some games off the top of my head, but Huddersfield are a good side, but again, away if they're traveling a little further, doing all of these things that we might not be used to doing, and it is going to be interesting to see, because my biggest thing is if we were to pull points and from these clubs in those conditions, and I've said it time and time again, it's all 3 points. Getting 3 points against Birmingham versus getting 3 points against Leyton Orient, it doesn't matter who you first, as long as you get those 3 points. So I think you're right. Like if we can just really churn through those grindy games and come away with a couple there with that and improve that away form, hopefully we can do something. Is there an away day that you think is, I say a danger game or a game that you're like, I'm a bit nervous about, or just something that's on your radar?
Yeah, I would even say the next one away at Rotherham, because they were this team that everybody thought was going to be that team, that second team. Steve Evans is seemingly a master of taking teams out of League One and then can never keep them up. So he's good to get you out of League One and then probably the wrong man to keep in the Championship. But they just haven't got going, and there's always that little nagging feeling in my mind that they'll eventually get going. The motor will start eventually, and you kind of just hope it's not against you guys. The difficulty is that, like I say, Wrexham come to town, it'll be sold out, and the atmosphere will be the best they've probably had up until that point in the season, and therefore, why would their players not be pumped up? Why would they not have that extra 10-15% that maybe they've been missing, respectfully, in games where the away end's half empty, or they just can't get pumped for it? That is the wrong way to be for players. Obviously, you should, promotion is won over 46 games, and you've got to really grind it out. But you just know when Wrexham get there that they're going to have that extra edge, and the documentary seems to rub people up the wrong way and all that kind of jazz. So, I'm slightly wary of the Rotherham one, because I think that's another good test for us against a team that, okay, yes, they've been down on the luck. You might look at the table and think they're not at it, but they're still, one of the best teams in the division. And, we got our ass handed to us by Birmingham. I think everyone can accept that. It is what it is. And I think we'll give them a better go at home, in the home game. I really just think with these away games, you just got to try and get draws. If you're not going to win, just don't lose it either, because if you can win your home games and draw your away games, you're onto a winning formula there. They say 2 points a game is that winning formula. So, if we end up getting a draw at Rotherham, obviously I would love to beat Rotherham, but if we go there and don't lose, I'll be pretty satisfied coming out of this break.
I think we're actually going to put on a surprising performance again.
Come on.
Because and my thinking behind that is this: Rotherham, they just drew against Peterborough, didn't they? They haven't had surprisingly patchy form, and one of our fuckheads who we like to pull the piss out of him, because he a lot of his transfer suggestions ended up at Rotherham instead of Wrexham.
Like every single one. Like he's literally working for them. It's fucked.
But they don't have the team togetherness that Wrexham do. That said, it was a good week, I think, for Wrexham to not play, because I think that Lincoln City one was going to be very tough. And it gives us a chance, or gives Lincoln a bit of a chance to sort of hopefully stumble in form a little bit. But with Rotherham, then we've come off with a long bit of a wait, a decent win against the Wolves, which we will touch on. And the momentum's on our side. So you could be looking at another Bolton-esque type performance where we will do a 1-0, maybe 2-1 win, I reckon, against Rotherham. I don't see us losing that game.
Didn't we draw against Bolton?
Wait.
Yeah. 0-0.
0-0.
I was there. We're 0-0.
Yeah, he was there.
But no,
Wait,
what I
take
will say
that back.
what I will say about that Bolton game, Rousey, is that you're right. We soaked up a lot of pressure. You know, they were gunning. Arthur makes a great save, and I think there were a couple of chances near the end where we might have been able to nick it. I think Fletcher had a shot. I mean, nothing crazy. We didn't really test their goalkeeper, but you are going to have to. I do think. Yes, they haven't clicked and they don't have the continuity, Rotherham, but they do have good players. Johnson Clark-Harris, very accomplished at this level, scored against Peterborough. People like Rafferty, Raggett, they are just really experienced campaigners. And I just know that they will be able to unlock an extra gear. So for Wrexham, you got to go there, be compact, just do something a bit different that we haven't already done. And also, I think we've got to be slightly wary that McLean walking that suspension tightrope and Dobson walking that tightrope. So there's a cut-off for that at 15 games. We're not there yet, but we're just need a couple of clear games, really. And we can all relax a little bit. But those two don't seem to have clear games. They seem to just be bulls in China shops.
5 games without
so.
yellow. That's all.
Yeah. I've got, what are the overs and unders of that on the betting scheme? Because honestly,
I'd love to know.
Yeah, there would be. I'd put all my money on McLean getting another yellow because I love him to pieces, and that's why we love him, is because he can. He's the guy that if he was not on your team, you'd hate him. You would hate him. He gets under the skin of the players, the supporters. But geez, when he's on your side, it's an X factor. And it's actually crazy how much it's gone to another level since being captain. What have you seen since he has got the captaincy?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I think I was pretty outspoken that I wouldn't have given him the captaincy just because I think, you want your captain to be that cool head, really, a kind of maybe, an O'Connell. And also, I like having a centre-back usually because they can just survey the field as best as possible. But you have to say that in terms of just CV and accomplishment, nobody can speak. Maybe Stephen Fletcher's the only one who can speak to James McLean, who's been at that top level. And we see how he conducts himself. First one in the gym, last one in the gym. Lads have gone on holiday this week. He's just gone to the gym again. Of course he has. He is just the consummate pro that is tough on the other guys, but he's just trying to make them better. And I think you're seeing Andy Cannon's really stepped it up since they've become like BFFs, or begrudgingly in McLean's case, he's kind of like his little brother sleepover buddies, thunder buddies for life or whatever. So, I do think that rubs off on people. I think the likes of McLean, the likes of Fletcher, you saw when Ollie Palmer scored, I can't remember who it was against now, maybe Reading, I think it was, or Shrewsbury, and he ran over to Fletcher to celebrate with him because of kind of something they'd been chatting about in the coffee shop in town. So, people like McLean, like Fletcher, they're worth their weight in gold, invaluable. But yeah, as for a captain, the rule is that only the captain gets to speak to the referee. Now that's the only person to approach. And in McLean's case, that's golden because he's the one usually making all the fouls. So I think it's probably a good thing. Yeah,
he fights his own case. I think it's like if you go to you have a court case and they're like, "Do you want a lawyer?" And he's like, "I'll represent myself." Like, it's fine.
James McLean's definitely representing himself. He's got all the arguments for sure. He doesn't need any help.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
Oh dear. I gotta admit, James McLean and FC 25, they didn't do him very good justice with that one. I know you guys covered that. I watched that episode where you covered the tweet that I made on that, but he looks like an altar boy. He literally looks like an altar boy set for a meeting with the priest.
I appreciate only a few of our guys went to the facility in Vancouver. It wasn't all of them, and I don't think it was any of the ones that you tweeted about. I don't think Max went, and I don't think Elliot went. But it doesn't sound like any of the faces made it in. Either they lost the file, or the file got corrupted, or I don't know what happened. But they all went for these scans. Maybe they were just humoring them because they didn't actually want to scan their faces. They were just like, yeah, come in, and they were like, "Oh, is this where you normally do it? This kind of like back room with no camera and no light?" Yeah, this is it. Thanks for coming, guys. Get out of here. And then and then we'll make you all look like altar boys because, I was expecting these perfectly sculpted Callum Burton face or whatever, but no, sadly not.
Hey, you wanna have a good laugh. I'll probably post it up later on, but Luke Armstrong. Oh, you want to have a good laugh? God. I'll see if I can find it or get a shot and post it up later. But he legit looks like something off The Greatest Show. Like it is.
It's funny because Luke wouldn't have been privy to the facility, I don't think, unfortunately. So I don't think he would have gotten to that back room to get his face scanned.
Maybe they've just done him dirty deliberately because it all went wrong.
Yeah.
Not even his fault, but it all went wrong. So we're holding it against EA are holding it against him in FC 25.
Yeah, I reckon McLean's out the back there with a computer, and he's just like pressing all of the buttons, and just just said whatever, man, just fucking put it in there. I don't give a shit, like, you know. And then he's found all the players that he's hated over the years. I guarantee, you know, what we should do is find a thing of like rivals of James McLean YouTube video or something where he's, you know, gotten his feathers ruffled, and if they've got a shit face in FC 25, James McLean, I'm going to blame it on him. So that'll be straight up. But no, look, I think the coolest thing about this kind of growth is, you know, I get when people comment, they're like, "You're League One, you know, calm down. Everyone shouldn't look like that." But I'm with you though. For like some people who have gone to the facility to do it, give him something, you know. I've made characters on like MMOs that look more like me than they've done of professional players they've got millions of photos of and taken photos of themselves. I just don't understand the logic behind a lot of it. But I guess, you know, people are like, it's League One, get over it, you're in League One or whatever. Well, maybe, you know, next year might be different, who knows. But we'll see.
It will be different, damn it. It will be different.
It will be. It will be. But you know who they did really well, and you know, if you didn't know Will Boyle, you'd be like, they did him dirty, but it is Will Boyle. His character file on that is actually pretty good. Like, I'm sure they didn't scan his face. I'm sure they didn't do it, but it looks pretty like him. They've just got the ears out. They've got the low, like it's just perfect. Voldemort, basically.
I mean, he's got a full head of hair now, basically. He's had the greatest recovery since I don't know when. It's the thickest, most luscious hair I think I've seen anyone come back from. So whether he was bald or skinhead by choice, I have no idea. It's just a miracle.
Maybe
it's
he's
a miracle.
to Turkey in the off season.
I'm just gonna believe that he woke up one day and he said he'd had sweet dreams and made a little prayer and threw a penny into a wishing well and it just came back. I don't wanna believe that there's been external forces at play here, Rousey, to be honest.
No,
miracle, modern miracle.
Modern miracle. All right, we'll go with that.
Well, I'll DM Will Boyle because I'm gonna need that kind of miracle for my hair.
Hey, my hair's just hanging on too, so I might need some of that Will Boyle magic myself. So.
At least you're aware of it, mate. I didn't know mine was receding as bad as it was. And during a lockdown, I shaved my head and then it just never grew back. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I really screwed the pooch here. So, look, Will Boyle, if you can hit me up, that'd be great.
I did the same thing to my balls and they never grew back.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, and this is why Nathan is like, I've regretted this decision since I got on this pod. It was going so well.
Oh, dear. So Lincoln City, that was meant to be our game this week. And Jesus, how do you come back from
You just don't. What I do, Nathan, is I just tend to walk up out of my chair and then just get out of the room and then wait till he moves on to another topic and then come back.
I'll tell you what, we'll go to an ad break and we'll come back and we'll discuss what is going to happen at Rotherham and look at the game we just missed. Let's go. Woo! Righto, we've gathered ourselves. We are back and we are now going to pick Nathan's brain with what happened at Wolves, at the Wolverhampton Wolves. Did you go to the game?
I did not, unfortunately, but I did watch it. It was, I thought, quite entertaining. You know, it's obviously a competition that is the least important of all the unimportant things, apparently. But, you know, I do learn a lot more about that, you know, and I know you guys are the same. You're always looking for things to talk about. And when the team is so settled, that is a great thing that often there's not that many new strands to pull at. And I think when you get 11 changes like that, which, you know, there are players in that team that definitely could be regular starters come January, come the new year. I found it really interesting. I thought, you know, Lewis Brunt really stood out for me. Anthony Ford, not even registered, got 2 assists, was brilliant, and had a hand in all 3 goals basically. Seb Revan, I think, looks brilliant, and I know people will say, a bit like you were saying then, Adrian, about, well, it's League One in EAFC, and people say, well, it's the 21s and they play in youth football, Premier League 2, and so what do you expect? But last time I checked, gents, you can only beat whoever's in front of you.
Yep.
Last time I checked, Wrexham didn't pick to play Wolves under 21s. Last time I checked, that was just the luck of the draw. So I'm not sure what they're meant to do other than beat the brakes off them. But there you go. So they look good doing it. A lot of positives for me, and most of the lads got a well-earned rest of the ones who play regularly. So happy days.
There's a bit of discourse around Paul Mullen, which is what I want to touch base on, because he scored at what I would say is a class striker's goal, chipping the keeper. But he looked so disinterested after he put it in. He just turned around and said, "Oh, yeah, it's just nothing. It's not his league goal that he desperately wants." But people were quite shocked at how he could react that way. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised at just the absence of celebration, but I actually went to watch it back because I'd kind of been, I wouldn't say critical, but I was just saying that, I feel like he looks frustrated and he's cutting this frustrated figure. But actually went back to watch the game again because I'm just I clearly don't have a life other than just rewatching matches that I already know the result of. And he did look much when Mo Fowl scored. He was very enthusiastic in celebrating with Mo, and so I think he knew that it was a big moment for Mo to get that first goal. But for him, he scored over 100 goals for Wrexham, and respectfully, he's not super satisfied with scoring in the 4th-rate competition or 3rd-rate competition. He knows that it's not clicked into gear yet. But this is a bloke, like I say, who scored over 100 goals. Legend in Wrexham's books, and that's not just me jumping on that word because I know it's a word that gets overused, but I mean he will statistically be probably Wrexham's 3rd or 2nd all-time goal scorer when it's said and done in the annals of history. So I think that a legend is pretty fair there, cult hero, whatever you want to say. And he's frustrated. I think like a lot of strikers, they are at their best when their ego is fueled. And I think I can look at players right up and down the level. I cover Premier League football. I mean, even the right backs have egos at the Premier League. So can you imagine the strikers and how egomaniacs they are? But you need that. You need to play on that edge. And I think for him, he didn't have a pre-season again. And look, even last year, you look at how good he was in the run-in. We forget that it took him a while to warm up there. When he scored that penalty against Forest Green to sort of salvage the game for us there, he was on a right tear after that and probably didn't want the season to end. In that sense, could have just kept playing and would have kept scoring. So I don't know. I actually don't think, looking back now, I know I said on my podcast that it was strange that he didn't celebrate and everything, but look, would we rather Mullen came flying out the traps and burn out by January, or be a bit of a slow burn and then be a sort of raging bonfire at the back end of the season when we really need those wins and really need those points? I think I would very much take the latter on that one. But definitely Rousey. Curious that he's so kind of put out at the minute.
I think from reading his book and trying to get an understanding on who he is as a person, he's very much got that perfectionist championship or champions mindset about him. And naturally, he is going to be frustrated, but at the end of the day, it's not just about the match sharpness. I think it's got a lot to do with the fact that not only did he miss preseason, but he missed, obviously, the whole conditioning phase before that. So just after the last season ended, and then you go into your conditioning, you start getting speed and strength and stuff to prepare yourselves for that preseason training. He's missed all of that as well. So for him to come in and look as threatening as he is, me and Adrian are both on the same team here when we think he just needs to relax a little bit. I think if he relaxes a little bit, realizes that it's not just about him scoring goals, the goals will actually end up coming, believe it or not.
Well, Rousey said it best last week, in the exact same way that you said it, Nathan, which is he will get there. He was a slow start last year. He'll do it again this year. It just takes time to come back from something like that. But yeah, I think that is something that we're both in agreement with. Is you do notice the difference in manner. Like, I mean, another thing we could pull out of the hat for his lack of celebration is because he went so over the top with his previous one with the mask and everything. So there could be that. I'm sure Park is probably like rein it in or something, or, it could be anything like that. But the big one for me is exactly what Rousey said, which is he does seem frustrated. When he's in the league and he's playing, he comes on and he misses something that he would normally do. And you notice when he's got it, it's like, when a kid gets overexcited and they're just like, oh, like losing their brain. That's kind of what I feel like I'm seeing on the ball, is that he gets it and he's so excited and moves the ball forward and then boots the living shit out of it without possibly thinking, I might need to place this a bit better. And it, goes wide, doesn't go near the target. And then he's slapping his, thighs, getting really upset with himself. Is that something that could be a hindrance? Because last season, yes, he was slower, but we didn't really see that from him. Is it because he's got someone at his heels like Marriott in the side that you reckon is giving him that extra pressure?
There you go. You just answered your own question. That's exactly what it is. He knows that maybe there isn't that security to play regularly. I was at the Peterborough game, brilliant win for us, and there was a moment near the end of that game where Ryan Barnett, as he does, burst down the wing, and we broke free, and he flashes it across for Mullin. It's a tap-in, and Mullin puts it wide, and he was able to laugh that one off. It was very late in the game. We'd already won the game 2-0 up. And he kind of, laughed like a kind of, I can't believe that sort of thing. And you kind of haven't seen that same laughter since, because that was sort of early on when he was coming back. Now it's now this is kind of pissing me off now, because, I'm getting headers, getting chances. But like Rousey said, you can't really cheat the body, I don't think, the conditioning. There is no, if there was a way to train for a marathon in a week, I'm sure people would do it, but usually that's not how it works. And it does take time, but like I say, he's just desperate, isn't he? And you just really need, but he's desperate, yet he's scoring these wonder goals in the Bristol Street Motor, so he's not lost a yard. He scored an absolute screamer against Salford, and he chipped the goalkeeper in spectacular fashion against Wolves, and I really don't think that's super lesser opposition than, say, a Shrewsbury or whatever the case may be. It's just, you just get the rub of the green, don't you? And for now, it's fallen for Marriott. And look at last season. Marriott did find it hard in that 15-20 minute slot. It is hard. By the time you get to grips with the game and like you get into the feel of the game, you might get 1-2 chances and then it's over. And then fans are saying, oh, got to stick with Marriott, or got to stick with Mullin, previously. And I don't know. I just think one goal could set him away. It's just a case of when at Rotherham, for example, I would imagine that Marriott will probably start that, and then it's a case of Mullin might get 20 at the end, and can he get it? Can he get a chance to score? So I'm not super worried. I'm just think for him, he must absolutely hate the fact that everyone's just saying relax. You know what I mean? It's kind of like going on your driving test and you're stressed out to the max, and the instructor just saying just chill out. It's nice and easy. Just or like if I'm out in the dating game, I'm in a bar and friends are saying that's just just approach, super easy, super chill, and I'm like stressed out like mad. So easier said than done often, and I think there's nothing more annoying for him. I no doubt that people are saying, sure, oh, it'll come, don't worry, relax, and he's going, shit, I just want to score, man. I just want to score a tap in from a yard out just to get it off my, just get the monkey off my back, and I can get going. And I do think then you will see that real sort of behavioural shift then, that you can just, I've scored now. I've scored a League One goal. We're good. We're fine. But until then, needs maybe to check his blood pressure, because it's getting higher and higher.
Did you want to follow up with another question, just a quick one? Where do you think Mo Fall fits in with all of this as well?
Yes.
When it comes to league?
I think he's a player for the future and not for now. I think he's the first real project Wrexham have taken on in the takeover era. I think most players that Wrexham have signed, that Parkinson signed, are ready-made, fresh out the box, ready to go. you know what you're going to get from them. We saw a shift this summer that it became more of a project-based operation in terms of Lewis Brunt, but at least we'd seen him play very, very well for Mansfield that got promoted. Seb Revan, I mean, Young Player of the Year at Rotherham in the Championship, so he's hardly the biggest unknown quantity. Mo Farl, who'd had a little bit of a spell at Doncaster, was at West Brom, but was never really making the grade there, is very raw. You see in his gait, his running style, it's quite unorthodox. He can look quite lethargic, and that gets misconstrued as lazy, but every player isn't herring him defenders down like a Marriott or a Mullin. That's just not the way that everybody plays the game, unfortunately.
It was a good goal, though. Very, very.
It was, an amazing goal, but he might be one of them that produces moments of magic and then moments of madness. A minute later. So one of those kind of really pull. Well, I wouldn't pull any remaining hair follicles out, gents. But
I don't want to.
Yeah, don't do that. But he's the type that you pull your hair out 1 minute because you're thinking, if you can score that quality of a finish, that bicycle kick, why can't you just tap it in from 2 yards? Why have you ballooned it over from there? Why have you put that wide when you can score, we know, like a 40-yard... Well, I remember when Ibrahimovic scored against England, like a bicycle kick from near the halfway line. It was insane. That's the type of thing Mo Farl could probably do, but he just can't.
Yeah. Right. And I think for him, work with Fletcher, work with Marriott, work with Mullin to improve. And you're very young, and I think for him, slow and steady wins the race. I watched his interview after the Wolves game, and he was very enthusiastic and sort of taking it in stride. And he said himself, "We're winning. What are we going to do? What can I say? We're winning." And so he's in a good moment, I think. He knows that his time will come, and I just don't think that time is right now.
No, I tend to agree with Mo Farl with your breakdown of where he's at. I think people probably expecting him to be like a major key striker and an Ollie Palmer replacement, but I don't think that's going to come anytime too soon. I mean, Palmer's actually playing really, really well. Yeah. Every single time he's been on, he works really well with Jack Marriott. It's almost like, how they're going to get back in. But speaking of, players coming back in, when you've got Brunt, who's put in a pretty decent performance, and you got Scar, who is looking like he's trying to cement his spot, how do you put Cleworth back in if they're firing on another level?
You put him straight back in.
I knew that was coming.
So you put him straight
100%.
back in. What are you
he's
talking
our
about?
Best
Rouse?
player.
He's the best centre back we've got at the football club that should be going to a Premier League team anytime soon, like a Brentford or a Leicester. I'm not trying to sell him, but I mean, it's not even a debate for me. There's two locks in the back. Tom O'Connor for me would start every game if he was fit, and Max would start every game. Kind of leaves that middle spot open. And look, there's a few schools of thought. Owen O'Connell's been very good. Dan Scar's been promoted with Plymouth, knows what, and has come to play regularly. And I think that will probably be the eventual. I would love to see Brunt in the middle of the back three and have the ball playing back three that everyone can just ping a ball like a midfielder can. But as Rich said on this week's podcast for us, that maybe that's better suited to the Championship than the rough and tumble a bit of League One. So I don't know. Right now, if I had the choice, I would probably go Max, Scar, and O'Connell. O'Connor even, TOC, is what I would go with as my back three. But how would I get Max back in? I would put him straight back in. What are you talking about?
There you go. I knew that. I fed that one to you. I knew that was gonna be your
softball.
Answer. It was a softball.
Smacked out of the park. But look, I wanted to shift gears just a little, because something that is intrigued us about how, I guess, us coming into the podcast game and being the outsiders looking in, really. And I know there's a fair few of us now. There's a lot. Red Horde and Local Pundit and Teach Me How to Wrexham. There's a fair few of us who are from overseas. We kind of know how we all came about because of the doco, because of everything here. I'd love to know a little bit more about your not just you as a Wrexham fan, but how the podcast kind of came about, because obviously you've been a Wrexham fan all your life, I'm assuming. And and then so how did it come about, and what made you pull the trigger?
So I met Rich many years ago at university. There was a pub next to where we studied called the Dockyard Pub, and I remember just being in there. It was a lot of journalism students, and your classic, who do you support? That's a default question in anywhere in the world for just a natural common ground. If you follow sport, like, who do you support? And even if you support a rival, at least you've got something to talk about, break the ice. And he said, I support Wrexham, and I was thinking that's freaky because like we don't know each other. Didn't know each other before, and I also follow Wrexham. Started going on some away days together, and we never won whenever we went to watch these away days together. We went to Halifax, didn't win there. Went to Grimsby, we lost there, and it was just a running joke that we just didn't for years. Just didn't see any of the away days we went to together. We never won at, seemingly. And obviously, we kept off following the team, and pretty much to that point, the only podcast that was going was the one by Mark, or when Mark was on Dragonheart.
Yeah,
that was the only one going, really, and and that's credit to those guys that they just did it consistently at a time when there was not real appetite to listen to a podcast that Wrexham had lost again, and were 17th in the National League, or whatever the case may be. So it wasn't a landscape which was like crying out for two lads who've studied journalism to sit in their bedroom and talk about Wrexham. I don't think we would have been super well received then. And then the takeover was happening, and I kind of said to Rich that, look, this is going to take off once we know who it is. We're talking one of the biggest A-listers on the planet, and Rob McElhenney we absolutely love. We both love Sonny, so we knew that it was going to be a springboard. And I just said to Rich one day, like, look, let's, if someone's going to do it, why shouldn't it be us, And I remember Rich just said, let's just do 3 episodes, and if no one likes it, then we'll just knock it on the head. And I think now we've done 193, and it's going well. But yeah, I mean, we always just cling to the fact that we started the chain reaction. So Mark was the OG, the Godfather on the beginning, and then but no, it's good. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a positive thing that you get all these different avenues, because look, I mean, we're looking up to you guys on YouTube. We're slouches on there. We can't keep up. So we're stuck behind you guys. So no, look, it's all and also, yes, I appreciate what you say. The friends of yours listen to myself and Rich, and people think we're knowledgeable. We've managed to fool all of you that we're knowledgeable, apparently. But sometimes you want a different perspective. Maybe we are a little bit too much, and somebody wants more of a gateway into it, or the various things that I've listened to a lot of. I think me, the wife, and Wrexham FC have had a good uptake on theirs. I'm sure they've been on here maybe, but they've had a really good uptake.
Close friends with us.
They're like family to us now.
You guys have had a really good uptake on YouTube. You're ticking ever closer to maybe 5K on there, which would be great. Obviously, the Fearless guys have done really well.
Yeah,
maybe too many that I can't name here. The Eat More Chips podcast.
I love those. Done well. Love those boys.
Yeah,
Welsh techie.
So yeah, Welsh. So that and I'm loath to leave anyone out, but there's loads. Anyone I could pick out that how hard it is to do a podcast every week. So when I know how difficult it is to get a podcast going every week, and it's not just a case of sitting down and I don't know. I'm not trying to get my tiny podcast violin out here, but it's hard. And I know that when I see all these podcasts that do it week in, week out, they have my respect, because I know how difficult it is to keep doing it and to keep, the love of doing it when you might look at the numbers initially. And we had that where you look and go, the uptake's not what it was, but it's, when you do get,
I find that story you just said. So obviously you, coming on from Dragonheart, and then starting, using that as your inspiration. Believe it or not, your Twitter live space that you did that day after the Notts County game is the whole reason why me and Adrian are together now.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. That's I'm out the game. I used to love doing the spaces. It's just work's been pesky and getting in the way, but that's great. So what, you were both just on the space and then decided, you know what, heck, we'll just do our own podcast.
Legit. So what had happened was, and this is the funniest part of this, was I was like, I want to be on this space because I'm going to be one of the only Australians here. I want to like, show my dedication. It's like 4 a.m. here. Yeah, let's do this. And then you had someone else on first, and I remember you were saying, "Okay, Adrian, we'll have you on in a minute," or Australian Wrexham, because that's my handle is Oz Wrexham, and you were like, "Oh yeah, Oz Wrexham, we'll have you in a second." But we've got Chris Rouse on the line, and then you put Rousey on, and I'm like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, like another Australian," and I was like, "Whatever." And then he was so funny because everything was like, people are giving great analysis, and obviously Rousey's riding on a bit of a high of the situation, the time of the night. And I'm pretty sure he dropped a fair few expletives on it, and then asked afterwards, "Can I swear on this?"
I feel like I remember the space where it was just total chaos when I gave Rousey the mic. It was just like, at this point, mate. At this point, you've already said it, So at this point, we have to ride it out. It's like,
it's over.
I don't know if I can say that.
It's so funny because and then I came on a little bit later, and I was like, "Oh yeah, being a bit nervous, like, oh yeah, it was good. Good stuff." And then moved on. And then Rousey actually DM'd me, slipped into my DMs, and was
filthy.
Yeah, he was real filthy about it, and was like, "Hey, do you want to do a podcast?" And I was like, "Nah." And he's like, "Oh, come on, mate." And I was like, "Well, there's a person who wants to do it. Well, maybe we'll try." And then that never eventuated. And then it was just me and Rouse. And I was like, "Oh, common decency, rock up for the first one to see what happens." And he's like exactly the same as what you mentioned with what Rich said, which was, 3 episodes. We'll see how we go. We didn't even do that. We were like, let's do 1 episode. If it falls flat, fuck it. And then the next episode we got Mark Griffiths on, just to interview after the first one, and then from there it just took off because he helped us get back into that avenue. So it worked out really well. But literally, you are the reason that we know each other. We wouldn't know each other if it wasn't for that space.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Power of social media, though, right? Like that's an amazing tool, and also the fact that you can. All these podcasts can just connect now, so everybody can just find every corner of the globe that maybe there is that viewpoint that they can get. And I don't know, I'm very, myself and Rich, he's not here, is he? So I'm just going to have to speak on behalf of both of us, but we are super grateful for the support we've had, we're just very grateful. And every Thursday, the people that will say they wait for the episode, or God knows why, but they wait for the episode, and I don't know. We actually had an Australian called Ricky who'd been over in Wrexham, and he came up to me and very gracious and very nice, and saying he really likes the podcast and everything. That makes it so worth it for me, because if people seem to value what me and Rich say, or they feel a little bit more connected to the team through that, then great. And also, I also think, lastly, I'll say that every podcast has their own unique voice, and that doesn't mean just different speakers, obviously, not literally, but more figuratively. I think there's stylistically they're different, right? So, maybe I wouldn't say boring, but maybe me and Rich are maybe a little bit more straight and kind of analytical and a bit more deep dive, whereas some of the others that you want to be entertained, right? You want to be entertained. Maybe me and Rich aren't super entertaining, but there's lots of
that's rough to yourself. Come on, mate.
No, but you know what I mean. There's like,
I get you.
I'm so self-deprecating, Adrian, that we're just and Rich can't even tell me to sort of perk up because he's not here. So
cool.
But you know what I mean. I think I've dropped it. I think I just think everyone's got a unique voice, and that's why I think it kind of works, because outside looking in, everyone goes, "How the hell are there a billion Wrexham pot? How does that work?" And you're kind of like, "Well, I don't know, but it does.
It does.
People listen to all of them, and so
Jesus, you just have to point him in the direction of Manchester United or Manchester City, and say,
God.
Look how much they've got. They have got at least 1,000 people.
Oh, easily
doing match
around the world
and all sorts of shit. It's whereas we've got maybe 4 or 5.
And you think now, if Wrexham ever made it to the Premier League, you would see a spring of new content creators that would have only turned up there and then. And so what I would say, anyone listening, remember we'll say Mark's the OG, but remember the kind of the OG-ishes. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Remember those when you get all these like TikTokers that come around in the Premier League?
Oh shit! Like I said, one thing we've never really, I think we created an account, but we never did anything with it. Is TikTok. We're just like, it's just one of those things that's just gone over our head, and we just like stick to YouTube and have fun with it. And I think you're very right. Like there are different styles. Like I mean, even us, like we might not be the most analytical, we might not be the most informative, but we are the only over plus 18 plus Wrexham podcast because we swear like sailors. But also, you know, we try to take a lighthearted approach. You know, when shit hits the fan, we go over the top with trying to make it a bit more comedic and blah blah blah. But again, like I think that's what, like you said, is so good about it. Like me, the wife, and Wrexham, they're great friends of ours, and we, when I listen to them, it's like I've got like the rotation really right. Like it's got yourselves, and then I play through me, the wife, and Wrexham. I also have what do you call it? A like, you know, YouTube Premium, where you can lock your phone and it can still play the audio. So like
damn. Okay,
even
that's cool.
yeah, so I found a way to do that with the ones who maybe don't do podcasts. Like as in, you know, I think Local Pundit's not on podcast, but he's on YouTube. So again, same thing. Like I can kind of listen to it that way. And I think that's what you said is so great, is everyone's so different. And even ones who are similar, there's the best thing I've seen so far is that there's not been a competitive mindset from any podcast in Wrexham.
Not yet.
All right, not yet.
Not yet. Come on, not yet. Not yet.
But
not
like,
yet. Not
but you
yet.
know what I mean? Like, it's no one's toxic about it. Like, you know, we've had people. I mean, Rousey likes to poke the bear all the fucking time. All right, guys, let's tag all of them. Let's tag Fearless and Rob Ryan Red, and let's tag them all and say, oh, look, we got this. What are you going to do about it? I'm like, Rousey, what the fuck are you doing?
I did not fucking say that. No way. I was just like, I was trying to get everyone some subscribers from that point.
Yeah, I know you were doing a kind thing, but it came off. No, anyways, it was a kind thing. But what was funny is like you do have that where like no one's toxic. No one's coming from a bad angle. The Fearless boys have been nice. You guys have been lovely. Everyone's been just so accommodating. When if it was me and you're coming into your club that you've supported for however long, and then saying to us that it's our club as well, I'm very, very humbled. I thought we'd be cancelled by episode 10 for this kind of thing.
It wouldn't happen to me.
Nah, but look, you know, growth doesn't happen. You know, how do you grow, and how do you become a big club, and how do you become rich without, you know, growth? So, you know, being a kind of what's it like, gatekeeping it is not a way to grow as a football club. So look, and also I think if we went on some toxic tear, myself and Rich, I'm not sure that would end too well for us. I feel like that might be us getting cancelled, trying to cancel everyone else. So we're quite happy just doing our own thing, staying in our own lane, you know, just going about it our way, I guess. And that seems to have gone okay for now.
Really well,
we'll see. But look, if Wrexham keep winning, keep doing well, everyone can eat. So the higher Wrexham go, the better it is for all these creators who give up, you know, hours and hours. I'm going to get the tiny violin back out, but do give up hours and hours, and for mostly free content. You know, I don't know many people that are charging extortionate amounts. So, yeah, just be nice to people that are making all the content, because it's hard.
Not an easy job. Not an easy job.
No,
a lot of time commitment, but and.
Outside of our actual jobs, I just want to. I need to remind people that we have actual jobs. I'd love to do this for a living and just do this all day, but unfortunately, not. Unfortunately,
when
not
the
yet.
Premier League happens and we've got like we're just some supersized club, then we'll probably be able to do it.
Yeah, when we got like 3 million subscribers each, we can probably just
coast,
just get a beach house and just coast at that point.
Yeah. Release an episode a month or some shit. Like, I'm kidding.
Yeah. And the whole thing's behind a paywall that's like $100 or something crazy.
Yeah.
It's just insane. Doesn't make any money.
Throw a few Diddy parties.
Oh Lord, and he's gonna.
We've got to the end.
That's it. And that's where this ends. All right, good night, guys.
There's
red flag.
Nathan's learned from Adrian. That's amazing.
Jesus Christ.
I've got to get a very, very quick prediction, because we got to do our predictions for Rotherham before we end this off. So we'll actually start with yourself, Nathan. Rotherham, what do you see happening? What do you reckon the final scoreline will be?
I'm torn between, do I want to be positive or do I want to say what I actually think? I'm going to say what I actually think, and I will go an entertaining 2-2 draw.
Ooh, I like it.
2-2 draw. Okay.
Mm.
All right, Adrian.
Away from home, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So draw. See, in saying that, I do kind of like where we sit in against Rotherham. I'm going for a cheeky 1-0 win, but I'm going off of that purely off of the fact that I think what Rouse used to mention earlier about us being a bit more cohesive and they haven't really got it together yet might get us over the line. But I would literally take a draw every day of the week.
And I'm going to. I fail to see a game where Johnson Clark Harris doesn't score. So I think there's definitely going to be a score leakage there. But my money's on a 2-1 win to Wrexham.
Ooh,
That's nice.
nice.
I mean, that'd be nice. I'll take anything really at this point. You know what? It's so funny because that Bolton draw that we had felt such a win at the time. I remember just everyone was
That's
talking about.
probably why I thought it was a win.
Yeah. But you know what it was? Like we had Andy Gilpin on from the Fearless Boys, and he'd just come back from it, and we'd ask him about it, and we were all just like buzzing. We're like, "This is great!" And then you get like a draw against Leighton, and it's a little bit flatter, but it's still the same thing. You know, we want, like you mentioned earlier, if we can keep taking points away from home and win our home games, that's literally a winner's mentality. That's probably going to do us well. So I would be very happy with a draw, and 2-2 would be entertaining. I'd like us to be 2-0 down and then a 2-2 draw, because you know when you lose a big lead and then you're just like, God, that was 3 points. That should have been 3 points.
Right on. Well, there we have it. There's our predictions. And Nathan Salt from Rob Ryan Red. Where can we find you? Give yourself a plug.
Well, I mean, at Rob Ryan Red on pretty much all platforms. At Rob Ryan Red and Instagram, TikTok. We're on there as well because we're cool kids.
Love it.
And so Rob Ryan Red on X. I think basically everywhere. And if you want to email us for whatever reason, you want to send us a long email, robryanred@gmail.com. Thank you very much, gents.
No OnlyFans?
Not yet.
Not
That's
yet?
the key.
Okay.
That's the key 2 words for Rich. Rich isn't. I don't know. Rich's bikini collection's still growing by the day, so I'm convincing him bit by bit, but not
We'll
yet.
get there.
Unfortunately,
We'll get there.
I still think we need to do an Only Beards account. Like an Only Beards, like it'd just be, and it'd be like the Beards of Wrexham. We'd get you on there, and we'd do like a calendar, and it'd be like you'd be Mr. January, you know, with your beard, with the Wrexham shirt, and then just just
so
really.
So what? It's us 3, Elliot Lee. Who else? Who else has got
Fletch.
a good beard? Just
Ollie
Fletch,
Palmer.
yeah, that's 5. Palmer. That's 6 months of the year sorted already. So we just need a few more.
Just a half
and,
calendar, even.
Just a half calendar, and then we just repeat it. We get 2 slots each.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. We got it made in the shade, I think. Oh, get Mark Griffiths on involved in it. Like get him in the because he's got a luscious beard himself. So yeah, make it work.
Awesome. Well, Nathan, thank you so much for coming on the Two Beards Wrexham podcast today. This has been a lot of fun. This has been a hell of a lot of fun. We're definitely we're going to revisit this one again down the track as well, probably towards the end of the season. And thank you so much for coming on, mate. And
Thank you.
Well, look, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, gents. Really appreciate it.
Well, after this, we're going to chat some shit, finish out the show for the day because it's been a good solid hour, and we will finish things up after this. See you after the break. Woo! Well, that is it for another week, y'all. Damn, that was a good one.
That was fun, mate. That was heaps of fun. Nathan is an absolute top bloke, and you know what?
I love him. I fucking love him.
I love him too. But I think the biggest thing is we can be quite, we can be a bit much for some people. And I'm always hesitant when we have a guest on that we haven't communicated as much as maybe Rousey and I do on a weekly basis. But so when he sees us and he's talking to us and we're making the silly jokes and we're being a bit stupid, and then even at the end, not something I don't think was on the camera, we're talking about, YouTube, he's having a laugh with us and just getting along with us. And I don't know, it was just really cool. And I really hope to have him back on again, and with Rich as well. Obviously, commitments aside, I'm sure he was busy.
Absolutely. Like, get out there, give him, like, their content is good.
It's so good.
Go give him a subscribe. Seriously.
On their
I
YouTube,
know
you go to it now.
we've just passed 4,000 subscribers, which is amazing. But guys, if you're listening to us and you've just subscribed, go over there and fucking give them a subscribe.
They're
It's
really
worth a
good.
listen to.
You know what? And they're not just a good listen, they're just good people. And I don't know. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed it. It was great. It's getting the analytical side, but also getting the backstory on how they all started as well. It's always a big thing of mine when I ask, we asked the Fearless boys the same thing. And we asked Me the Wife from Wrexham and local pundit, all of the peeps. So it's really good to kind of hear the origin stories of one of the greats of Wrexham podcasting. So really cool.
Yeah, hell yeah. So by all means, Rob Ryan Red, give him a like, share, and subscribe. And then give us a like, share, and subscribe. The absolute shit out of our episode. Because we know we love you when you do it. If you want a shout out on next week's episode, give us a super thanks. Or do some shit. I don't know. Just do something that gets our attention. You will probably
don't slip. No, yeah. Well, look, if you're going to get someone's attention, slip into Rousey's DMs, all right? Like,
hey, send all your dick pics to Adrian. All of them.
Fuck.
All of the dick pics. Adrian. Ozrex.
I guess he's trying to defer the fact that he's on that Diddy list that everyone's talking about. It's like it goes P Diddy, C Rouse. It's like a whole thing. So, anyways, I totally get why you want me to take the heat. I get it.
Yeah, and I need some heat off my back. Oh dear. All right.
That was fucking gold. Oh man. But you know what? I think, we have a laugh and we are a different content as Two Beards. But when we have other podcasters on, I always get nostalgic about the fact that we're so lucky, like the fact that we get to talk to these people. And I know that people, he's a very down to earth person. So he's like, we're not famous. If I ever say I'm a celebrity, kick me off the pod or something. But he is. And it might not be in his eyes, but he is a public figure that in Wrexham communities socially know of him, know of the podcast, and know of them. So to know that we have I wouldn't say made an impact, but being able to be on the scene to the point where we can have these people on our pod, and they are so nice to give us think about other guests that people have on, right? They have them on for 10, 20 minutes. We have every one of our guests on for about an hour minimum. And we had him on for an hour and we've had everyone else on for an hour. And if they didn't like it or they didn't want to, they just tell us. And I think that the fact that he didn't stop it right there, middle of the thing, when, Rouse is talking about P. Diddy, then, he's a keeper.
He's a good bloke. Well, guys, I think we're going to end it here. I think we've had a good show.
I thought he meant end the podcast in general. Yeah, fair, good call. Way to go out.
Go watch a rocket get caught by some chopsticks. It's like if this is a SpaceX one, I'm not making a sexual innuendo off that. It's a rocket getting caught by chopsticks. Come on, mate. I was trying
to work out where that was going from. Like, are you tugging one out with chopsticks? Is that what you're talking about? I don't know.
No, but I am still waiting for the day that Wrexham porn actually makes it onto Pornhub, because there is no Wrexham porn at the moment.
So you're saying, shout out to the content creators out there who are, work in that industry. If you're a mattress actress or a Johnny Sins of Wrexham, then this is your time.
Get on it.
There will be a cease and desist, I guarantee it. The fact that there's not one for us actually still fucking boggles the brain.
Oh, we'll get there. We'll get there eventually.
What, a cease and desist?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the goal. That's the fucking dream.
that shit. I'll be like, hey, check out this cease and desist. Yeah, bitch.
You know what, though? If you did get that cease and desist from Elliot Lee, which we all expect, he will have to sign it, right?
Elliot Lee's coming on this podcast. I'm saying it now. Elliot Lee, get the message out there.
He's
Guys,
not. You want to know
get
why? Because
Elliot
there is a
Lee on the
cease and
Two
desist
Beards.
and a restraining order with your name on it and his name on it. You can't get within, a fucking whatever distance. And yes, okay, virtually it might not count, but you won't be able to make contact. But here's what I'm trying to give you the silver lining, mate. He has to sign the restraining order, right? So you can frame it and be like, I've got Elliot Lee's signature.
Well, either way, I got a signature from him. I got something that he touched. But we got to do it. We got to have a campaign. We've got to bring all of our fans, followers, everything together, come together, tweet at Elliot Lee, get Elliot Lee on Instagram. Let's get Elliot Lee on the Two Beards podcast. He needs to come on the podcast.
He
Let's
will.
do whatever we
and
can.
I mean this wholeheartedly, and I love you to pieces, mate. We will have any other Wrexham person on here before we have Elliot Lee on here because he has been warned and told about you to the point where I'm sure there is a security briefing at the start of every game because they probably have to go, look, we just need to let you know, people of interest, there is a rumor that the Two Beards boys are coming over in November in 2025. We just need to let you know of a person of interest, Chris Rouse, who may or may not try to fondle Elliot Lee's balls. That may disturb a lot of you, but mainly we need to protect Elliot Lee. So we're giving him 24-hour security. That's what's going to happen. that's what's going on.
I'm sure it won't. He'll give me a hug. He'll give me a hug.
I would,
Elliot Lee.
and even if, let's just say we do, let's just say we get to Wrexham, right? The dream happens. We somehow meet Elliot Lee or any of the players, right? And they go, give us a hug, or you say, give us a hug, right? And you give him a hug. The heart attack that I will have when I see your hands lower down the back of Elliot Lee is going to give me severe night terrors. I'm going to be thinking about that a lot.
Obviously, you've been thinking about it a lot.
I'm scared, mate. I'm really scared. But you know what? I digress. We have fun here. We're Two Beards.
All right. Yes, guys. Like, share, subscribe the shit out of the episode. We'll end it right here. Come on the town, up the Reds, let's do it. Beard brethren, Sheilas, fuckheads, and just all-round legends. Thank you for watching us this week. Links in the description down below for our Patreon. Come join us, have some fun, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Two Beards Wrexham Podcast. Woo!